ago, during the State of the Nation address, Kenyans, this administration's bold and ambitious Kenya shillings 5 trillion roadmap to transform our nation into a first world economy and to secure our full economic freedom. That roadmap is anchored on three unshakable national priorities. First, history teaches us that no nation ever prospered on poor roads, inefficient ports, and congested airports. Modern transport and logistics drive productivity, reduce the cost of doing business, and creates trade, business, and innovation and investment hubs. Our 10-year roadmap on road, rail, ports, and airports, and oil pipeline infrastructure includes the expansion of strategic highways connecting our major cities, industrial zones, markets, border points, and agricultural belts to move people, goods, and services faster, safer, and more affordably. We have mapped out 2,500 kilometers of highway for dualing and 28,000 kilometers of road across the Republic for tarmacking. With this, we are stitching our country together, linking towns to cities, farms, factories, and Kenya to the wider region. Last week, fellow citizens, we moved from promise to action when we officially launched the construction of the Nairobi-Nakuru-Mau Summit Road and the Nairobi-NYAYO Naivasha Road, an investment of over 180 billion in a modern 223-kilometer multi-lane dual carriageway delivered through a public-private partnership model. In February 2026, that's in 3 months from now, we will begin extending the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kisumu and Malaba. And later in the year, extend the oil pipeline from Eldoret to Uganda, opening a new transport corridor with our neighbors and with the continent. At the same time, we will modernize Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and several other airports to enhance connectivity and ease the movement of people, goods, and services. The Port of Mombasa and Lamu are also on course for modernization and commercialization and are taken through innovative private-public partnerships that include long-term concessionaires. Charging forward, our infrastructure expansion will provide the foundational support for a strong and resilient economy that will drive transformative development for all of us. Number two, fellow citizens, we must decisively shift our economy from dependence on imports to becoming a net exporter of agricultural products, manufactured goods, and value-added commodities. Kenya today spends nearly 500 billion shillings every year importing agricultural products. While we have reduced imports of milk, sugar, edible oil, rice, our progress is still constrained by the limitations of rain-fed agriculture. We can no longer leave the country's food security to the uncertainties of rainfall, especially in the context of climate change. To feed our people and produce surplus for export, large-scale modern irrigation is the only viable pathway forward. We have mapped out 50 megadams, 200 mini dams, and over 1,000 macro dams across all our 47 counties, especially in our arid areas, which have expansive, fertile, and arable lands currently not under production because of lack of water. With this plan, an additional 2.5 million acres of land will be brought under agricultural productivity through extensive water harvesting, water storage, and advanced irrigation technologies. This is not only about food and water security. It is a nation-shaping investment. It will drive our transition into a net exporting economy. It will uplift rural communities and end the indignity and shame of food security. And it will anchor sustainable development for generations ahead. Charging forward, investing in modern irrigation will supply adequate quantity, good quality, and reliable raw materials required to power agro-industrialization. Through our special economic zones, export processing zones, and county aggregation and industrial parks, and our strategic market infrastructure across Kenya, these raw agricultural materials will be transformed into high regional and global. Third, fellow citizens, energy is the lifeblood of any modern economy. Although Kenya's installed capacity stands at 3,300 megawatts, the intermittency of solar and wind leaves us with a firm capacity of only 2,300 megawatts, which is far below the demands of the Kenya we are building. To power our domestic consumption, agro-processing, and value-addition industries, e-mobility, digital expansion, and a future driven by data centers, artificial intelligence, and modern technologies, we must scale up energy generation exponentially. Kenya possesses extensive and largely untapped renewable resources, including geothermal, solar, hydro, wind, and nuclear, ready for development and for generation. Charging forward to modernize our economy, accelerate our development, and compete globally, we must and will generate at least 10,000 megawatts of new energy over the next 7 years. Fellow citizens, to finance these 5 trillion national economic freedom projects, relying solely on national budget would leave us waiting forever. Borrowing would only deepen our and burden future generations. Raising taxes would place unbearable strain on households. And choosing inaction would condemn our nation to stagnation. That is why we must act with courage, innovation, and foresight to design alternative financing mechanisms, leverage mature national assets, and tap into robust public-private partnerships to undertake these national development imperatives. Fellow citizens, 3 weeks ago, I signed the Government-Owned Enterprises Bill into law. The new law revolutionizes the management and governance of state-owned enterprises, professionalizing both through merit-based independent appointments, and tie leadership to measurable results. This is a very consequential reform. It is the most far-reaching reform of government corporations since independence, aimed at turning legacy parastatals into commercially disciplined companies that will serve our public interest. The passage of this law ends the era of cronyism and patronage in our state-owned enterprises. This law explicitly disqualifies any person who has served in a public or political office within the last 5 years from appointment. On Monday, under this new legal framework, and to start this administration's bold and ambitious Kenya shillings 5 trillion roadmap to transform our nation, the cabinet will meet to consider and approve the architecture of the National Infrastructure Fund as the engine that will align our financial resources with our development goals. Through innovative mobilization of domestic resources, strategic monetization of mature national assets, democratization of ownership through capital markets, and innovative deployment of national savings, we will unlock large-scale private sector capital to fund our national priorities while reducing reliance on borrowing and taxation. For decades, Kenya privatized major assets including Kenya Airways, KenGen, Kenya Re, and Safaricom. Yet the proceeds were absorbed into the budget, paying salaries and debts, leaving no enduring national assets behind. Through the National Infrastructure Fund, all privatization proceeds will be ring-fenced and invested strictly into public infrastructure development that generates and preserves more value. This principle is already being actualized. Proceeds from the current privatization processes will be channeled directly into the fund, setting a new national standard where national assets create lasting public value. Our goal is simple. For every shilling in the National Infrastructure Fund, we will attract 10 more shillings from long-term investors, including pension funds, sovereign partners, private equity funds, and development finance institutions, allowing us to develop without the constraints that come with debt and taxation. The National Infrastructure Fund will not just be a financing instrument, it will be a generational strategy to mobilize capital, accelerate delivery, preserve value, and secure Kenya's long-term competitiveness. To secure future generations, again on Monday, the Cabinet will consider and approve the Sovereign Wealth Fund policy, anchored on 3 pillars, including savings for future generations, stabilization against global shocks, and strategic national investments. Natural resource royalties, dividends from public investment,